Hi guys, and welcome to this week's video. I'm at my local river that's just thawing out after a big freeze, and I've just decided to do something a little bit different this week. So this week is all about abstract photography, looking for shapes and patterns in the ice. Let me explain what caught my eye. If you look down now at the bright white ice melting in contrast against the dark water in the background, and it looks really cool. So with a long lens on, if you zoom in, you can really pick out some shapes and patterns in the ice, again contrasting against the dark. I think if I box clever and if I frame my images up well, I think I should be able to come away with one or two half decent pictures. I could possibly even utilize the Triptych theme that I utilised when I shot the woodland photography a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't seen that video, by the way, I'll leave a link up there. So the first shape I want to photograph, they look like frozen fir trees, and that's what I'm going for. I'm zooming in really tight. In actual fact, I've got my 1 to 400mm lens with me today. I didn't pack my 70 to 200 just in case I saw a bit of wildlife. I wanted my longer lens, but this is perfectly fine. It's a great lens anyway. In actual fact, it might even be better with this because that extra reach is brilliant. So how I'm framing this up now is I'm still sticking with a nicely balanced image. Like that. And I'm giving the impression that it's a few frozen fir trees, 3 or 4 frozen fir trees on top of a mountain, all frozen in ice, and it looks really nice. So bring up the histogram, very quickly check the settings. I'm actually at f13 ISO 100, and yeah, got no clipping. That looks really nice, and I'm at 100th of a second. Let's zoom in just to make sure I'm focusing as accurately as I can on the icicles I know are going to draw the viewer's eye in. I've opted for a 10-second, I could get my timer out of my bag, but I've just opted in for a 10-second timer on it to make sure that my camera is perfectly still. And you know, that looks really nice on the back of the camera as an abstract shot. I think that looks brilliant. That's one in the bag. Let's see what else we can grab. Cold, but it's really still. There's no wind or anything. I'm going to grab my camera and my tripod. I'm going to wander up the river, and I'm going to look for a few more compositions that I can grab in this area before I wander on. But I'm going to leave you here looking at me wandering up the river just for 30 seconds or so, because I want you just to listen to that running water, because it's really cool. Skip on 30 seconds if you're not interested. Good thing about abstract photography is sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. The only advice I'd give you is look for shapes, look for oddball shapes. Most important thing is get your composition right in camera. Remember, you've got a creative carte blanche to do anything. The horizon doesn't have to be level now because we're pointing our camera straight down. There's no water horizon to think about. So realistically, tilt your camera and just change the angle of your lens relative to the subject that you're photographing, just to get a balanced feel for the image. And like I say, don't worry, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. But I'm just looking at this area down here, for instance, and the patterns and the shapes are beautiful. The sun is glistening off the ice. I can see it starting to melt away, so it's changing every minute. It's changing. There isn't a secret to it. Compose, grab as many shots as you can, go back, and you can even recompose with your crop tool. And then either decide that you like it or you don't like it, you want to use it as a single shot, or maybe you would like to display it as a triptych and get even more arty-farty. You can't go wrong doing something like this though. It either works or it doesn't work. I've already mentioned that you can't get it wrong when you play around with abstract photography. It's all about the framing. Well, let me give you a tip as well, is when you're looking at patterns like I'm looking at now, then don't be afraid to zoom right in. Fill the frame with just these crazy patterns, because these are the sort of things that look really nice as like a desktop background on your PC, for instance, let alone a really good print. But zoom in, fill the frame, then in post-production, use your crop tool imaginatively, move it around and just try and get that balance right, or get the shapes looking balanced in post-production. But yeah, fill the frame. It's really, really cool. If you've never tried abstract photography before, well, let's be honest, there isn't a better time than now, is there? Abstract photography can be anything, and generally abstract photography is close, is oddball shapes, oddball angles. It's almost like you're trying to confuse the viewer. In other words, that's really cool, what is it? And then when you tell them, well, actually it's just the corner of a coffee cup, then, oh wow, yeah, I see it now, that's brilliant. I suppose that's really how I define abstract photography. But if you want some clues on how to compose your images, well, unless you've just got an out and out shape that you're zooming into, you're filling the frame with, then just look to compose the image like you would do landscape photography. Like I'm looking at this line now in the ice, and you'd never really put the line right through the middle. We could put the line at an angle on a third, coming in to draw the viewer's eye in. Just have a play around with it in the viewfinder, move the camera around, and just try and think of it like you would when you're composing landscape shots. It doesn't have to be hard, difficult or complicated. Just look on the back of the viewfinder, move the damn camera. That's all I do. On my last snowy video, a couple of people have asked in the comments, do I overexpose when I'm shooting in the snow? And the answer is quite simply yes and no. If you're using a semi-automatic or a fully automatic mode on your camera, then because the snow is very bright, then I would suggest that you overexpose your images, probably around about 2/3 or maybe 1 stop. otherwise your pictures will be slightly underexposed. But the truth of the matter is, when you're out and about taking landscapes, it's irrelevant whether you're photographing in the snow or at night, during the day, or when it's raining. It makes not a jot of difference. If you use your histogram, as long as you get the bulk of your light to the center or to the right of center, lots of photographers will shoot to the right of center, then it'll be perfectly fine. It's not relevant whether you're shooting in the snow or not. Your histogram is a true indication of how much light will be received onto your sensor. The most important thing, of course, is to make sure that your histogram doesn't go all the way to the right hand side or even touches the right hand side. The minute that your histogram goes so far to the right hand side, that's my right, of course, not your right, then it'll touch the sides. If it touches the sides, that's called clipping. Clipping equals missing detail. We don't ever want missing detail in the images. As a standard practice, you'll hear lots of photographers say exposed to the right. What that means is the bulk of the light in the center of the histogram. Then what you'll do is either slow your shutter speed down, open your aperture, or increase your ISO. That way more light will enter the sensor. Your histogram then will move to the right. And like I say, that's fine as long as it doesn't touch the right hand side. Otherwise, that's clipping. So, nice and simple answer for you, I hope. I mentioned Triptych earlier on, and because I've got that in the back of my mind all the time, I've seen 3 pebbles that are covered in pure white undisturbed snow, and instantly I thought, well, individually it's just a pebble in the snow, it's not very exciting. But if I could craft 3 images of pebbles in the snow placed together as a triptych, they'd probably display nice. But when it comes to my style of photography, I just keep trying it. I try it. The amount of stuff I throw away is incredible. But it's all about the learning process. Sometimes you can't see things like this. You take pictures, then in post-processing, when you sit down in the cold light of day and start juggling stuff around and think, do you know what, that's really quite cool. But more often than not, I wouldn't have seen that in the field. I don't know. It's just one of those things. But I'm just going to try this now and see if it works. Oh, I tell you what, I'm so glad that I brought my 1-to-400mm lens along with me today, because it really has helped out. So a bit of a lesson for me there. That's something I've learned today. Right, that is it. Have I got anything from today? I don't know. I'm guessing we're all about to find out. But, you know, it's about having fun, and if you don't try, you'll never know. So once again, I can't thank you enough for watching this video if you've watched it this far. And do me a favour, help support the channel, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe if you think the content is worthy of it. Till the next time, guys. Cheers.